The Wharfedale Evo 4.2. This is a bookshelf speaker, and this is a incredible Hulk from Sideshow. So I have the Hulk next to it, basically so you can kind of see the size of this bookshelf speaker, because this is really one large bookshelf speaker. It's more like a mini tower speaker, I feel like, than a bookshelf speaker. It's just really large speaker. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and welcome to the channel, everyone. So let's talk about it. First, I'm going to go over the specifications. This is a three-way speaker. It's a bookshelf speaker. It's a bass reflex speaker, and what that means is it has ports. So the port is on the bottom over here, so it's underneath all around where this slot is, where my fingers are going in. Okay, the port is firing down and it's firing into that, so you'll feel a little bit of air blowing out all around the port. Let's see, so it says it's a 5-inch black woven, it's a 6.5-inch black woven Kevlar cone. So that's the bass driver. The mid-range driver is a 2-inch soft dome, that's this. And the tweeter, I lost my place, it looks like, I think that says 30 millimeters, 30.60 millimeters, AMT. Typically something like this is called a ribbon tweeter. That's typically the common name for it. The sensitivity is rated at 87 decibels, so that's kind of a little bit, I mean, it's a little bit lower, but you know, it's not horrible. The recommended amplifier power is from 25 to 120 watts. I find that kind of interesting. The impedance is 8 ohms. And let's see, the minimum is 4 ohms. Now the frequency response on this is 54 hertz to 22 kilohertz. They have the bass extension with a -6 decibel at 48 hertz. So actually the frequency response was plus or minus 3 decibels. This speaker is a three-way speaker design. You can see here's the tweeter, here's the mid-range, and here's the woofer. What I want to do before I go over my notes is I just want to show you the rear. I'm trying to be very gentle. Now this is so you could bi-amp it. So if your receiver can do bi-amping, you would hook up a set of wires here to the positive and negative, and another one to here to the positive and negative. There's a little something that I encountered with this, where if you wire it in going this way, okay, and even though it's very tight, if you touch this, again, even though it's very tight, the sound cuts out. So basically the sound on the tweeter was cutting out because I touched this with my finger gently. So what I noticed was the wire has to go in this way. So you want to send the wire in this way. And so it's going to go this way. So that's the way you're going to wire it in. Aside from that, I mean, everything in the back here feels pretty strong. Yep. Aside from that, just make sure that these jumper plates are in very secure, because they can very easily come flopping out. Okay, so just make sure that they're in there, they're secure, everything's tightened up well. The speaker is very nice looking. You know, I do appreciate how it looks. I really enjoy this type of a wood look. I'm not crazy about brown, but this speaker has a nice look about it. It almost looks like a piece of wood was just carved out and they put the speaker into it, the driver. So it's nice looking. That's my point. It also does come in white. It comes in black. This color was on a great sale price or whatever. So anyway, that's the reason why I acquired it. So now for my notes, but I want to tell a little story here. This is actually the second pair of this particular speaker that I have. The first pair that I ordered, when it showed up and I hooked them up, and I was running them for I don't know, I think I ran them for about 10 hours or so. But eventually I stopped because it just didn't sound right to me. The speaker to me sounded like a speaker that's been cooked. And what I mean by cooked is if the receiver is just way beyond too powerful for the manufacturer's recommended power, the circuitry on the inside, the wiring, whatever it is just a little bit fried. So I thought that the speakers just sounded like that. I thought it sounded terribly dull, and it wasn't anything what I thought it would sound like. So with that said, I exchanged it for another pair, for a pair which is the one that's right here, which is brand new. After I took it out of the box, immediately I said, okay, you know, it sounds much better. It sounds so much more clear. It sounds good. Over the course of time, breaking them in, the speaker the sound of the speaker changes a lot, in my opinion. It goes from being more clear and more sharp to much more warm, or overwhelmingly warm, or too much warm, to the point I was finding that it's dull. So anyway, this speaker has pretty much morphed into the one that I returned. It's kind of unbelievable. And when I flip between this speaker and other speakers that I own, and I listen to the music, going from this and then flipping to, say, the SVS, flipping to the Definitives, flipping to the Polk Audios, even flipping to the old Acoustic Research, a pair of speakers that I think cost me like, I don't know, they were like $70 or $80 years ago. The Acoustic Research I feel like is pretty close to this in detail. And that's a very warm sounding speaker. It's not full of detail, but yeah, I'm going to get into it. I know that this review is going to go against the grain of most of the other reviews, but everyone has different hearing. We have different equipment, and I'm always going to be honest. There's no doubt about it. I'm always going to call it how I see it. Now, I'm not saying that this speaker is horrible. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I am saying that the particular trademark sound or whatever that is Wharfedale, it's here. So I would not pair this in, say, a surround sound system with other manufacturers' speakers. And I'm all about mixing and matching speakers. I'm all about it. Some manufacturers might have a speaker that it's amazing. Like, for example, the SVS Ultra Center. It pairs great with the definitive towers, the bipolar towers. It pairs good with the old series, and it pairs good with the new series. I prefer this SVS Ultra Center over, say, the definitive center channel with the 150 watt amp and the 8-inch. This speaker sounds so much more clear. So my point is that going from this to the SVS, to the definitives, to the Polk Audios, the Polk monitors, the Polk RTIs, the Acoustic Research might be the closest match to this speaker. And you can't even buy those anymore, but the point is that the overall tone of the Acoustic Research, is a better match for a surround speaker if this was being used for front speakers. So I would definitely say, if you're putting together a surround sound system, don't put anything else with the Wharfedales. That's just my opinion. Okay, so now let me talk about the Wharfedales, because this speaker is really, it's kind of in its own world when it comes to home audio. All right? And again, I'm not saying that this is a terrible speaker. A lot of people love it, but a lot of people love probably every speaker that's on the market. You could go look at the reviews on any of the you know, the stores that sell them, and you'll see, okay, you know, there's hundreds of reviews, or you know, or a whole bunch of reviews for a certain speaker, and then there's one person that's going to say, I hate it. So that's just how it is. All right, I'm going to try to get back to this now. I think the exterior is fantastic. I love the look of it. You know, the overall quality of it is really nice. You know, there's no doubt about it. It's a heavy speaker. It's well made. You know, I can't say anything about it except for I told you about the back with the binding post. So just be careful with that. Make sure that you wire them in the way I mentioned. So the sound of this speaker. Sitting in front of it, and I mean sitting here facing it far away, I think that's the best sound. I think if you're in a room and you're somewhere over here in relation to it, you're on the side, you're walking around, you're doing other things, I don't think that this is a very good speaker to own. But if you're going to be sitting in front of it, where you're always, you know, you're somewhere facing the speaker, or it's kind of off to an angle, and I think in the manual they mentioned to take the speaker and tow it in. Yeah, I think that towing it in helps. I don't like towing anything in because I don't like how it looks. Okay, so that's a thing with me personally. I like my speakers to be square against the wall. I don't like it to be angled in, but also I don't like it to be angled in because many times or most of the time I'm going to be up walking around when I'm listening to music. So I don't want the speakers forming a triangle, because a lot of things with home theater, it's about a triangle. So, you know, you're here where my fingers are connecting, and then here's a speaker and here's a speaker, and it's kind of a triangle. So just keep that in mind. There's a lot of usage of a triangle depending on however the triangle is angled, but you know, that's kind of how you want it. So I don't think it's too good from the sides, okay? But from the front, that's where the sound stage is definitely at. The sound is going to change a lot, and I thought it changed tremendously from when it first came out of the box brand new, and I preferred it when it first came out of the box a little bit more than later on, or should I say a lot more. It's going to warm up a lot. It's a very warm speaker. Putting on the grills might help with some sharpness from the tweeter. This type of a tweeter has a very different sound than most of the other tweeters on the market. It doesn't sound like a horn tweeter or anything like that, but you know, it's not going to sound like most tweeters that are, you know, some kind of a dome. There's aluminum domes, soft domes. This is a soft dome mid-range, but there's a lot of tweeters that are soft domes. So this tweeter has a different sound. Ear fatigue, you know, I guess it really depends. I think that this speaker sounds good at a low volume. What I mean is, you know, kind of like at a volume that I'm trying to speak right now, kind of like a, you know, a very low talk, almost like a whisper. I kind of appreciated the sound quality at that volume. It seems to have nice detail. The snare drums and music seem to be coming through well still, and I just felt it was kind of evenly balanced. I mean, the bass at that point, you know, not so much, but I felt like I could still enjoy the music. It really didn't vanish, so to speak. A speaker like this, I don't really think that it would sound so great in a room with that's like all carpeting. I think that this type of a speaker is more so for a live room, a room that's tile, a room that has wood floors, stuff like that. Putting this in the corner seems to enhance the bass. It does have to be on some type of a table or some type of a stand. So just, you know, keep that in mind. It's a big speaker, so putting it on top of a bookshelf, it's so deep. So, I mean, I think it's kind of too deep for probably most of the bookshelves out there. Even though it's called a bookshelf speaker, it's more like a stand speaker or a tabletop speaker. Let's see. The sound is kind of interesting because sometimes I felt like the sounds I would hear out of it almost sounded like there was a bit of like a reverb. And I'm not saying like a big reverb, what is like a huge like echo type of sound, but some things I feel like there's a little bit of that type of a sound, and it's probably because of this type of a tweeter. These type of tweeters sound different, and also this type of a mid-range, and because it's you know, the brand of speaker that it is, it's a Wharfedale, and they're usually more mid-range heavy, I guess you could say, or mid-range warm sounding. As far as music goes, you know, I think it's I think it's okay with anything. I don't think it's the greatest with very heavy rock, metal, stuff like that. I think more so with acoustic stuff, easier going music, jazz, things like that. I think that might be the strong point for the speaker. But I think if you really want to rock, I don't necessarily think that this is it. Of course, you could hook up a subwoofer and that would change everything, but I mean, on my end, the type of sound, the detail of sound, I think that a lot of what I was listening to with you know, various rock and metal type of music, a lot of it would get lost because I would flip over to like the SVS or to the Polks, and I'm listening, I'm like, wow, like all of that detail was kind of gone, and like I didn't even realize that it was gone. I mean, I knew, I mean, let me just put it to you this way. I know it sounds different, okay? So that kind of detail, I just feel like it's not here. This is a very, very, very warm sounding speaker, and when I would flip between this and other brands of speaker, it's like every other brand, I'm hearing more details. And with this, the details are very subdued or very soft. It just, it's in its own category, this speaker. So really, again, if you're gonna match this up with other equipment for surround sound, I would say use the same brand for everything, because it's just not gonna sound right tonally. This speaker has its own tone overall, okay? So just try to keep that in mind. Again, I'm not saying that this is a bad speaker, but I think that it's really a matter of taste. I mean, most speakers are a matter of taste, but this one, it definitely separates itself from the pack. I definitely suggest to match this up with an amplifier that's a cool sounding amplifier, something like a Denon. I don't think that hooking this up to a Marantz or something else that might be, you know, a warmer sounding or neutral sounding is a good idea, because I think it's just too much. So really, you know, try to hook this up to an amplifier that is a bright sounding amp, a cooler sounding amp, and try to keep it in a room where it's all wood floors or tile or something like that. And I think that that's the best place for this, because I don't think that putting this in a room that's all carpeting, and hooking this up to a warm amp is going to do anything for it. So just, you know, keep that in mind. The mid-range on this is kind of okay as well. The mid-range has its own sound. The mid-range snare drums sound very different on this versus probably all the other speakers that I have around me, and you know, so many that I have tested out. It's just a very, very different sound. You know, the treble is kind of different because of this type of a tweeter, but the mid-range in particular on the speaker is very different. I mean, the voices come through, but the snare drums sounded like they had like a type of sound, and that's the only way that I could kind of put that out there, is with that little impersonation. So it's very different sound, but you know, you have to appreciate this type of a sound to really enjoy this speaker. If you own a speaker, I would love to hear about the equipment that you have hooked up to it. Please post a comment below. And if you have any questions as well, check out the comment section and post it up down there. And thank you for watching.